when I stopped drinking, and I've actually recorded this sort of the diary of my first 100 days without alcohol through the emails I wrote to my coach every day. Cause I kind of was like, hey, it's day 8. Hey, it's day 14. Here's what's going on. And the amount of times I mentioned laundry in there, I was like, oh my God, it's going to be the most boring thing ever. But you work all week and you're in early sobriety and all the chores you do, alcohol was sort of the reward you got at the end of the day. And, I had an 8-year-old and a 2-year-old. So apparently I did a crap load of laundry in those days,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah,
was just
absolutely.
monotonous and not terribly rewarding. Um, and, I feel like I sound um, not very nice right now, but I'm just trying to be honest about the fact that we're not supposed to ever say anything negative about becoming a mother. I mean, people come up to you and are like, oh my God, you know, they're adorable.
Mhm.
The days are long, but the years are short. And they are adorable and you do love them more than anything. And you need a break that
Yeah,
isn't going to the office.
absolutely, but literally going to work was a break for me.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
You got to put on
I
clothes, you got to drive in the car by yourself for at least a little bit of time.
Yeah, I was sitting in a train being a person out in the world without a baby attached to me.
Yeah.
I freaking loved it, and I wanted it to last as long as it could, right? I relate to that so much. So my first year of sobriety, also kept a diary, and what I tell everyone is like, it's full of F you, and F you too. I mean, it's not pretty.
Yeah.
It's because that's how I was feeling, so angry and so resentful for having all this responsibility. When my youngest went to kindergarten, I left a job that had been so flexible for me. I actually worked part-time and was also able to move up in my career. It was
Mhm.
a woman-owned company. It was incredibly supportive, but I was recruited for a bigger job, longer hours, more responsibility, a team reporting to me when my little one went to kindergarten. So, and at the same time, my dad passed away. So I thought not taking I wasn't going to let my dad's passing be an excuse to not take a job and move forward in my career. So I took this job and it was full time and it was bigger. And I broke my leg the first week on the
Oh
job.
my
It was
God. Like
January
every
in
trigger
Chicago.
known to
It was
man.
it was a recipe for disaster, a comedy of errors, but it was the laundry that was getting me because I was burning the candle at both ends at this time. I was working, there was early morning, like thought leadership events, and then there was evening client dinners and happy hours, and I was doing everything, but I didn't want to drink too much on the job. I didn't want to be seen as,
Yeah.
drunk or irresponsible. So I would drink the regular amount, maybe like 2 to 3 glasses, and then I would come home from the event and actually drink for
Yeah.
myself because I wanted to get my own fill. And
Mhm.
then I would go to bed and wake up and early, drag myself through the day and do this cycle over and over again. I was the first one up making lunches for my kids.
Yeah.
I it looked like I had it all together, but inside I was absolutely dying inside.
Well, and that's the other thing I've seen. So I do core energy coaching, which is sort of similar to Myers-Briggs or the Enneagram. And basically, there's 7 levels of energy that we all cycle through. And there are a couple levels that I feel like we live in when we're drinking. The first is before we drink, which is level 2, and you start with resentment and irritation and frustration and this feeling, right? So we drink at people, or even if it's our reward, we drink because life is hard, because we have so little for ourselves. We deserve it, right? This is our one thing. And then when you wake up in the morning with a hangover or having drank more than you wanted to again, you're in this level 1 energy of guilt, anxiety, regret, remorse, self-loathing, whatever it is for you, depending on the day. That's what I felt. I would be like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Get your shit together. Like that was the constant refrain in my head. But then as high achieving women, we kick into level 3. And level 3 is a level of coping and responsibility. And overcompensating, right? So you're so tired, but you couldn't possibly take a nap because you blame yourself for drinking. I'm tired because I drank too much. Or I don't want anyone, including my husband or myself, to notice how much I'm drinking. Therefore, I will do absolutely everything else so that,
Mhm.
there's nothing to see here. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, so guilty.
Yeah.
So guilty inside for our own behavior that is a secret and we don't want anyone to know. And we're secretly afraid that we're depending on it too much. And also, that first sip every day is the best we felt all day. We're
Yes.
not letting it go, right?
Which of
One of
course
the
it was, because we're in withdrawal and we're at
exactly
least
now I know that's
psychologically and
withdrawal.
habitually addicted to it.
Right.
Um, yeah. I mean, it's this vicious cycle. And I think that we tell ourselves that we have no willpower, or when we're drinking, like, what's wrong with us? But looking back with some distance, I
Mhm.
can't believe how hard I was working and how I was like basically trying to run this marathon with this ball and chain of drinking and hangovers tied to my ankle. I mean, if you're drinking and working and motherhood, you are doing the hardest job imaginable. And also, you're completely unaware that if you removed the alcohol, the rest of your life would actually get way easier.
Oh, yes. I always say that. Everyone, it's hard to get sober for sure. It's definitely really hard to get sober, but it's hard to keep drinking.
Yeah.
It was getting so hard to cover up and clean it up and pretend like everything was okay and to keep functioning at this level when you
Yeah.
feel like death all the time. And my mental health was crumbling,
I
you
was
know?
so anxious. I felt like I couldn't cope with life. Like any new request, project, thing,
Mhm.
oh my God, spirit day at school. Like, why the fuck do they have spirit day? Where it
Mhm.
was like crazy hair day and then X and then Y and then teacher's gifts. I was like, everything is going to break me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you didn't have any resilience, and neither did I. I actually had my first drink at 12
Mhm.
and used
Oh,
it
wow.
immediately. Yeah. Loved it. I was from Wisconsin. It was super normal. You know what I mean? Like everybody drinks and just drink. It's super normal. Have your kids in a bar, what have you. That's the culture there.
Oh,
So
I took my 18-month-old on a wine tasting weekend in Walla Walla, which is the big wine area in Washington State, with
mhm.
4 other couples. We rented out this whole inn, and they all had babies too, and we went from winery to winery to winery with the kids' toys, and we thought like, "Oh, we're the cool parents." I mean, it's almost embarrassing looking back at it, but we're
Yeah.
like that you mentioned, like, I don't want my life to change, right? I
Hmm.
still want to have fun, and I don't want my entire life to revolve around my kids. And at the same time, looking back now, I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's crazy to bring an 18-month-old to, like, wine bars for 2 entire
Yeah.
days."
I'm sure that was really fun for the baby.
Oh, yeah, adore
You
well, some of them had dogs, so, they got to run
know?
around with their dog. I mean,
I mean, not to be a topper, I could totally relate, but when my second baby was born, then I was like a totally experienced mom, right?
yeah,
And he was 3 days old, and I went to an outdoor concert venue, had wine, brought homemade salsa, fit in my old jeans, had my baby. Like, I thought I was a freaking amazing, perfect. Like, I
yeah,
made a homemade salsa, I'm drinking a glass of wine, I'm getting in my jeans, and I have a baby.
yeah,
Everyone was
yeah,
like, "You're incredible." And I was like, "Yes, I know. That was exactly the feedback I wanted." Right.
yeah.